So if he wasn't doing all this crime, they could possibly try to freeze some shit. I don't think it'll happen, but this is an angle because currently, to Bradford Cohen's point, they're pointing out Durk as the money man, money man, money man, money man, and you know, we could say it came through legal reasons with the or legal means with his career, but if his career is all about this type of stuff, isn't it intermingled? We'll find out later. Anyway, let me get back to it.
Close to him that was wearing a wire that would be willing to testify as to his involvement, because his involvement right now is kind of tangentially involved,
right?
Where he's the funder, but there's no direct allegation that he said, hey, this is what I want done. There's an allegation that he spoke in code and he could have said this and all these different things, but there's no allegation that says, hey, this is what he said and this is what was going to happen.
And to be clear, when we're talking about this, obviously there are multiple people involved. You can't have a conspiracy unless there are several people involved, especially something like this. Sure. So although Banks might be the most famous of the names that are called out in the indictment, he's not the only one. I'm going to list them out. In the indictment, we have Kevon London Grant, we have DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, we have Keith Jones, David Brian Lindsay, and Asa Houston. And the indictment also names 5 co-conspirators, with Banks being one of them. In the indictment, he's referred to by his initials DB, or co-conspirator 1. So here's a little bit of background on this case. And it really starts in 2020, because that is when Banks was with his friend and fellow Chicago reputation, including the interview of one of witnesses. For example, assault at the direction of Banks and to maintain their status in OTF. For example, based on evidence collected during the investigation, including the interview of one of witnesses, I know that Banks put a monetary bounty out for an individual with whom Banks was feuding, named TB. And then there's a footnote at the bottom of that page that reads, due to serious safety concerns, this affidavit does not provide the identity of these witnesses. Based on the FBI's investigation, I know that witnesses and or their family members have already received threats and or have been contacted in what appears to be attempts to influence their participation in this investigation. What do you make of that, Bradford?
So it's basic. Like a lot of these allegations, you can almost take each one of these and put them into every case that we've seen as of late, where witnesses are either contacted or witnesses are offered a monetary amount not to testify. And sometimes that comes with a civil case. Like if there's a civil matter that's outstanding, they might say, hey, listen, there's a civil matter that you could have, and we're going to give you a settlement of XYZ. The feds automatically take that as you're buying off a witness. So it just depends on the facts of those circumstances. Like I've seen it many times where the feds read into it differently than you would if you just read it yourself, wherein people are trying to be influenced. A friend of a friend might contact you and say like, hey, listen, this isn't a good idea to be a witness in a federal case. The feds take that as, oh, hey, this is, Bob Smith influencing this witness because he's friends with this person who's friends with that person. A lot of times that doesn't shake out the way that they put it in the indictment. And they put that in the indictment specifically for bond purposes, right? So when you go in for bond, they say, hey, listen, this guy's trying to influence everybody, and here's all these things. But when you actually get into the case, sometimes those things don't shake out, and then it's already too late because you already moved for bond and you didn't get bond.
That's the same thing that's happening with Sean Combs. I mean, well, that's Correct. A little different because he's not charged specifically with obstruction, but it's part of the racketeering count. I read this indictment. I didn't see anything that Lil Durk is charged specifically with obstruction or witness tampering. It's more the conspiracy. There's also federal weapons charges. So does that give you pause too that he's not, I mean, again, maybe I'm wrong, that he wasn't directly charged with anything like witness tampering, obstruction?
Yeah, it always gives me pause. Whenever the feds throw an indictment in, it gives me pause right away because a lot of times you'll see in the indictment, there's a lot of accusations in the indictment that when you start getting into it and it starts kind of flushing out the facts, they stretch what could be a basic fact, they stretch it into something that it's not. And I've seen this time and time again. So in this case, it could be individuals that are loosely associated with OTF or that is signed to the label or something else that has contacted a witness, and they're trying to put whatever they did onto Dirk Banks. So that's the issue here, right? Is that they're just lumping them all together. They'll just say, hey, listen, because this guy did that, obviously Dirk is the quote unquote leader of OTF. He must have known what was going on. Therefore, he shouldn't get a bond because this is a dangerous gang and etc. You notice they stopped short of saying this is a dangerous gang and said this is a dangerous association of individuals that known as OTF, which I thought was interesting because generally speaking, when it comes to any of these rap groups, so there's OTF and YNW and YSL, and they all say like, hey, all of these nicknames, this is all a gang. And even though it's a record label, it's also a gang. And that's kind of their argument with every single one of these. And that's going to be their argument here. But I thought it was interesting in the indictment, it didn't specifically say gang. It said an association of individuals that go under OTF. I thought that was kind of interesting because I don't know what kind of evidence they have to say OTF is or is not a gang legally, the legal definition.
I thought it was PTSD from the YSL trial. Let's not rush to call anything a gang because of all the trouble there. That's a separate conversation. We can have a long talk about that. Okay, but this I think could be problematic for Lil Durk, and I'll get into this because on the morning of October 24th, we have federal and local law enforcement. They execute these search warrants in Chicago. They arrest Grant, Wilson, Jones, Lindsay, Houston. And that is when they learned that Banks had booked multiple flights that were leaving the country. The affidavit says the FBI received notifications from U.S. Customs and Border Protection showing that Banks had been booked as a passenger on 2 international flights, a one-way flight from Miami to Dubai, United Arab Emirates, connecting through Doha, Qatar, scheduled to depart the evening of October 24th, and one-way flight from Fort Lauderdale to Switzerland, connecting via New Jersey, also scheduled to depart the evening of October 24th. Now, Banks didn't board either flight, but at approximately 6:40 p.m., the FBI received an additional CBP notification that Banks had been booked as a passenger on a private plane departing Miami and destined for Italy, scheduled to depart at approximately 9 p.m. At approximately 8 p.m., Banks was arrested by law enforcement in the vicinity of the departing airport. So, Bradford, I mean, that seems to be evidence that he might have been trying to leave the country. You tell me what you make of that.
So, I make a couple different things of that. So the first part of that is all the countries that he has, that Dubai is going to extradite you.
That's what I thought. All these countries are sending you to America.
Switzerland's going to extradite you. These countries are going to extradite. The only places that don't extradite are like you go to Vietnam, you go to Morocco. There's certain countries that don't extradite, like strictly don't extradite. All these other countries, even if they don't have a treaty with the U.S. for extradition, they're going to extradite because they rely on the U.S. for money. They rely on the U.S. for support. Switzerland, especially. Italy will deport you in about 10 seconds. They'll extradite you in 10 seconds. So I don't make much of whether or not he was going to escape and flee the country. I think more than likely, and sometimes this happens, when
somebody said, what about Bali? I see y'all on Rumble. I see you, Beast.
It was unusual that there were so many booked, right? What's not unusual is sometimes where an individual doesn't know whether or not there's a warrant out for their arrest. And I've seen this before happen in the past, where some associates get arrested. And in order to see whether or not they have a warrant, because that's not public knowledge, whether or not they have a warrant, they'll book an international flight and it'll red flag them. And then they'll get a call from the FBI or their lawyer will get a call and they'll say like, hey, your client's red flagged. They're trying to leave the country. Just so you know, they're under investigation or XYZ. And you find out information you wouldn't necessarily find out. Now, I don't know if that's the case here because there were so many that were booked, but I have seen that before in the past where a client will call me and say like, hey, Bob Smith got arrested. Can you check if I have a warrant? We can't check if there's a warrant. Oh, no one tells us there's a warrant. So
just to be clear about that, so you're saying instead of, they didn't have an option where he calls his lawyers and say, hey, can you check with the feds to find out if there's a warrant out for my arrest? That wouldn't work. So you're saying this is a way for him to find out, hey, am I in trouble? I'm going to book these flights and see if they get flagged.
Sure, and it's happened before. Now the difference here is there's so many flights. There's 2 or 3 flights that were
Right.
booked. That's the weird part of it. But it wouldn't be weird for me to see someone that books a flight to the Bahamas. They book a flight to Italy or Spain, and then
Right.
within 6 hours of booking that flight, they get a call or we get a call. That happens quite often. Now it depends on your lawyer. Like, for example, me, if somebody says to me, "Hey, do I have a warrant out?" and my associate got arrested, I've been doing this so long, I can make a phone call and not necessarily find out if there's a warrant, but I'll find out. They'll tell me, "Hey, listen, don't have your guy leave the country. Like he's being watched." And then I know, okay, just let me know if I need to surrender him or whatever I need to do. And that's the relationship that you build over 30 years. Not everyone can do that.
That's an interesting alternative explanation for that. I'm sure it will come out in a bond, in a bond hearing if he's questioned about that. So let me go now to these alleged co-conspirators and what exactly happened here. We have to make sense of it. So the indictment that was filed in the Central District of California gets into it, and it says that all of them conspired and agreed with each other to knowingly use facilities of interstate and foreign commerce, namely airplanes, cars, cell phones, and the internet, with intent that the murder of TB be committed in violation of laws of any state, namely the state of California, as consideration for the receipt of and consideration for a promise and agreement to pay anything of pecuniary value, namely money, and lucrative music opportunities with OTF. So this is a murder for hire plot in exchange for career opportunities or money. And according to the FBI and other investigators, Banks was the one who put out this call for a bounty. And then he got word that his apparent target, Bowman, was going to be visiting Los Angeles. So authorities say they have proof that Banks and or OTF provided the funds for 5 people to fly from Chicago to San Diego and then apparently drive to Los Angeles, with the plan being to kill Mr. Bowman. The indictment lays out what we call overt acts that they say this group committed in furtherance of this conspiracy. You can't just have an agreement. You have to have overt acts, overt steps that were taken to actually commit this crime. And the apparent proof ties it back to all the defendants. For example, one overt act says, on August 18th, 2022, co-conspirator 1 texted co-conspirator 3, "Don't book no flights under no names involved with me." So again, that's allegedly Lil Durk writing that. There are text messages between 3 of the defendants showing that they had the same airline ticket information. One of them also messaged someone on Instagram to say, "On my way to LA." And it's also being reported that Banks himself allegedly flew to Southern California on a private plane, was staying at a hotel in the San Fernando Valley, and authorities say they have camera footage that puts him there. Grant, who is allegedly a top OTF associate, bought ski masks, got cars, then gave 3 people guns, including one that had allegedly been converted into a machine gun. This is a federal crime. This is what prosecutors are alleging Grant did. And the indictment says that 6 people total, they traveled in 2 cars to the hotel in downtown LA where Bowman was supposedly staying. They allegedly started following Bowman, who was in a black Escalade with his cousin, Savia Robinson, known as SR. The indictment includes photos from a traffic camera showing the white Infiniti the suspects were in, seemingly following the black SUV. And the indictment says that the suspects then followed the Escalade to a Beverly Hills gas station, parked in an alley. And the indictment reads, on August 19th, 2022, at the Beverly gas station, the defendants Jones and Lindsay and co-conspirator 2 used the firearms procured by defendant Grant, including the fully automatic firearm, to shoot at TB's car, striking and killing SR, who was standing next to TB's car while TB was inside. And the images below show defendants Jones and Lindsay and co-conspirator 2 firing their guns at TB's black Escalade. So we have the death of SR. TB survived this attack. And the filing includes surveillance photos of what prosecutors say are the suspects appearing to fire guns towards the gas pumps. And you can see it's daylight in these photos at a gas station in the middle of Beverly Hills. So Bradford, whoever was responsible for this, what a blatant crime, what a blatant act in the middle of it. But talk to me how strong you think this case is based on what I've been saying. If the prosecutors are trying to prove conspiracy, what do you make of some of this evidence? Text messages, surveillance, travel receipts, what do you make of it?
I think that Durk will still have a defense. I think that, I don't know everything that's going on. Obviously, no one does. From what I'm reading in the indictment, I think there's some there's some missing pieces there when it comes to Durk about how involved he was in this alleged conspiracy. The other guys, where they all have plane tickets, they all got a car, they're on tape. That's going to be a very difficult case for those lawyers who have that case, because, and I've said this multiple times on multiple cases. There are so many ways these days to catch individuals in this type of crime, where you have cell phone records, GPS data. You're going to have cross-reference on the phones, what phones are together at what times. You're going to have car rental agreements. You're going to have videotapes. It's real funny because very often you find these red light cameras and things like that the feds get on state cases where I want the footage, where I know it's good for my client. They're like, sorry, we don't save that footage. But somehow the feds get, camera footage from red light cameras, camera footage from the next door neighbor, camera footage from some guy who's just randomly on the street. So you'll see that they will put together a forensic case against the actual shooters that, will be very heavily based on cell phone records, GPS data, and videotapes. Now, when it comes to Durk Banks, so far I've seen one text that says, don't have them associate my name with any kind of flights that they're taking. Certainly that's not a good text, but is that the only text? Because that in itself doesn't stand on its own. Certainly it's circumstantial. But like I said, we have to wait and see what other evidence they have. If they have a snitch, if they have videotapes or audio tapes of him saying something, I think that's a lot different than, hey, just make sure you don't associate my name with these guys. Because he could be blaming, Grant or one of these other guys and saying like, hey, these guys are going to do some crazy stuff. And he's like, hey, listen, make sure it doesn't associate with me at all. You can look at that a million different ways. So I'm hesitant to say that they have, a slam dunk case on Durk Banks. I think that they have a long way to go on Durk Banks in order to prove the conspiracy against him. I think the others, it's going to be very heavily based on paperwork.
So in other words, look, I said it before, what a blatant attack. You're shooting in the middle of the day near gas pumps, which could explode. If you make the argument that the case against the shooters is really strong, could there be a situation where they work out an attractive plea deal? I don't know what an attractive plea deal would look like for them, considering what they're facing and what the accusations are, where they turn on Lil Durk. What would be a scenario that would what kind of deal could be worked out where you're working a deal out with the alleged shooters to go after the principal of this case, or the alleged principal?
It's happened quite often in the past. And if you told me, the deal that Sammy the Bull worked out, right? The guy killed like 19 or 20 people. He ended up getting, a year or two in jail, followed by probation. If you told me that was a deal that someone would get for, being associated with 19 or 20 murders, I would tell you that's an impossible deal to get. So it all depends on the hunger of the U.S. attorney and the AUSA that's involved. And if they want this individual badly enough, they'll make very attractive deals for these individuals. What does a very attractive deal look like? I think they go for the lowest hanging fruit. Whoever, didn't actually kill the guy, maybe someone that was involved that didn't actually shoot, or someone that shot, but it didn't hit, they're going to have forensics. So they'll take whoever is the least culpable, and I think that they'll approach him and make a deal with him that'll be the most attractive. And if that guy doesn't make a deal, they'll move on to the next guy. So usually that's what happens, right? You go for the lowest hanging fruit first, the guy that you think will flip, the guy that didn't really have that much involvement. And I think what also is interesting with the indictment is it wasn't just money. They're like, oh, it could have been money, or it could have been career advancement, which is, it's strange to mention that because they don't really go into any kind of facts about it. They just say it could have been, that they would have advanced in their career. But what does that look like? Durk promised them like a record deal, like doesn't,
or they assumed it, And if they assumed it, that's a weaker case for the prosecution. If it was just like, oh, I assumed if I did this for him, you
Correct.
know.
And that's so you got it. That's the key, right? They're like,
right.
Hey, I knew if I helped him out, he would give me a record deal.
Now, let me put a bow on this.
By the way, I want to point this out continually. And, you know, I think it was somebody from THF who said this. And I just think this is very obvious. These guys who are charged are not contract killers, okay? They're not people who don't have any emotion, who don't have any ties to the situation. The get back for King Von, everybody who was in OTF, everybody who was a street nigga who was allegedly associated with Durk had an incentive to do. They have an incentive because people are saying the entire group got a slide for Von, not just only Durk. So it's kind of also plausible that Durk doesn't have to offer y'all money. Now, if he facilitates, I mean, that's still part of offering money, I guess, but not really. But that's part of him being a conspiracy, not necessarily murder for hire. Usually with murder for hire, it assumes that the people doing the killing have no interest in killing the person. They're being hired as murderers, they're being hired as killers, but they don't necessarily care either or that the person gets killed. In this situation, it's not the truth, right? Everybody wants to slide for Von, right? It's not just Durk saying, hey, here is this money, and that's going to come down to it. Because, you know, if they throw these innocuous things like, oh, career advancement, maybe he thought OTFDD was a great rapper. OTFDD sat with me on Off the Record. They were trying to promote the guy, clearly. Who knows if he was just like, oh, no, this is just payback for me trying to get your career off the ground because you killed this guy for me. We don't know. Like, that's something that could be argued. As opposed somebody saying, in a Dolph situation, you heard what that guy, the Cornelius guy said. He said, yo, I don't know, I'm Dolph from a can of paint. All I know it was $50,000. I need $50,000. That's classic murder for hire. Classic, right? Classic murder for hire. How much money you getting? What was promised? What did you get? Now, sometimes what you get is not what you were promised. Obviously, because the cops come in and they fuck it up in the Dolph case. But here, we don't know how much was promised. How much was promised? How much money was on Quando's head? We don't know. And maybe we find out at a point, but right now we don't know.
And talk about what happened after the shooting. The suspects then apparently went to an In-N-Out hamburger stand to talk about payment for the murder. Then they flew home to Chicago from San Diego. Wilson later paid Jones and Lindsay an undisclosed amount of money. That's how prosecutors say this murder plot ended. But the indictment, it charges the 5 named defendants and the 5 alleged co-conspirators with violation of the U.S. Code. It's 1958, use of interstate commerce facilities in the commission of murder for hire. It's part of the statute dealing with racketeering. And because someone was killed, Banks faces life in prison or possibly the death penalty if he's convicted. And all the defendants, they're also charged with firearm possession resulting in a death. The indictment says they knowingly used and carried firearms, including a firearm that defendants Grant, Wilson, Jones, Lindsay, and Houston knew to be a machine gun during and or in relationship to, and possessed such firearms in furtherance of a crime of violence. In so doing, discharged the firearms, resulting in the death of S.R. And defendant Keith Jones, he's also charged separately for knowingly possessing a machine gun, namely a 10-millimeter caliber firearm equipped with an auto-sear conversion device, which was designed and intended solely and exclusively for use in converting a weapon into a machine gun, which defendant Jones knew to be a machine gun.
Yeah, wow, talking about Quando Rondo were 10K. Our life is priceless, people. Yo, let me tell you this. If I was somebody who's a street nigga, well, I guess it won't matter with me saying it, right? Because you have to think about somebody who's not broke. But if you are somebody who is a killer, the price of you killing someone should not be the price of what you need or what their life is worth. The price should be what you taking that risk should be, right? How much, like, what if I said to you this, I don't like someone and I want you to kill them, but I want you to give me a price for you to kill them, not based on what you think they're worth, because you don't know that person, you don't care, right? I want you to give me a price based on you taking the risk of getting caught, never going to tell on me, and also knowing that when you get caught, you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail if you get caught. What's the price on that risk? If you tell me the price on that risk is $50,000, first of all, I wouldn't even go for that because it tells me you got to be suicidal. Sorry. If the price on your freedom is $50,000, I'm good. But that's how it should be looked at. I think when people think, oh, they got money on somebody's head, and you're like, oh, well, Dolph is 100,000. The people who were doing the murder should have said, what price would I consider taking this risk, which has probably a 90% I'm going to get caught ratio. 90%. And if I get caught, I'm doing life. There's a 10% chance I don't get caught. But I also have to move different. I have to do a lot of things and be in a way where I wouldn't get caught. That's going to cost a lot of money. Combine those two things. What's the price for that? Now, that's usually for people who are smart. And obviously, one of the unfortunate things about most of these crimes we're seeing, these guys aren't smart. So, it is what it is.
Machine gun. So, Bradford, I've laid out the what we know so far. We expect at this point Banks to be extradited from Florida, where he was arrested, to California to face these charges. Talk to me about the next steps, particularly the issue of bail and how you think that might work with defendant Lil Durk and how that's going to work with the other co-defendants. Let's start there.
Okay, so with Durk, what happens is when you get arrested in the feds have 3 days to get together a bond package if they request it. So you get arrested, you show up in front of a judge, you say, Judge, we're not agreeing to, pretrial detention, which is what the government always seeks on these type of cases, especially with this type of case. I don't think that they're going to seek the death penalty on this case. It's not one of those cases that would be appropriate for it. I'd be shocked. I mean, shocked. But long story short is when you're arrested in a...
Yeah, let's look the last time feds tried to get death penalty in case. Let's look. Okay. We already see something here. Look at this. The federal government, this is 2019, to resume capital punishment after 2-decade lapse. So they didn't go after it for 2 decades, right? Like, they're not going to go after it for motherfucking Lil Durk. Up to the Attorney General's discretion is going to be these ones, okay, and I guess these. Let me see. Capital punishment. When's the last time they've went after somebody for... No, those are assassins. List of people executed by the... Okay. When's the last time? All right. The last time appears to be 2001. Yeah, you got to be a terrorist. Look, this guy bombed like a federal building or some shit like that. Like, yeah, you're dying, nigga. 8 federal law enforcement got killed. You're dying. Okay? If they caught them niggas, them little hoodlums, them Alu Wapbar niggas from motherfucking 9/11, they be over here too. Real talk. But nah. They ain't gonna kill no Lil Durk. They don't give a fuck about that. He's gonna spend life in jail.
Another jurisdiction, you can move for bond in that jurisdiction. He can move for bond here and then have the judge in California review that bond if it's denied or even if it's granted. And I've had issues where I filed in Florida, they're arrested in Florida, but it's a case out of, most recently I had a case out of Massachusetts. The judge in Florida granted me a bond and the U.S. attorney in Massachusetts said, I want the judge up here to review it to revoke the bond. And that was denied. But I mean, we went for a bond hearing, but the judge in Massachusetts still upheld the bond. So generally down here, what will happen is, okay, he goes in front of the judge. The judge says, hey, you want a bond hearing? I usually say, yeah, I want a bond hearing here as opposed to California because of a couple different reasons. One is if it's a judge that I know and I know how they behave in court, I can get a lot of information about the case. They put a case agent on, they might put another witness on, and I can find out a lot more details about the case, so that when they do go to California, I'm kind of prepared with, okay, I know where they're going with the case. I know what else they have. It's not just this one text, it's something else. I kind of see their case, and it prepares me to go to California and then have that case reviewed by the California judge. And now I'm even more prepared for that next bond hearing in front of the California judge. But I don't know what they're going to do in this case. They could just say, hey, judge, extradite him to California. The California lawyers are going to deal with the bond in California and move for bond there. And like I said, once he gets there.
I see some people say Trump would pardon him. Let me look up. When's the last time when has a president ever pardoned a murderer? Oh, okay. Well, they commuted and rescinded convictions of the. Okay, it's been done before, but it was like, look, it's a military court. Most presidents don't pardon murderers. Trump did in May again. Did Trump do it? Oh, so he pardoned a war criminal. Okay, allegedly war criminal. Was American? Okay. All right, and it wasn't even like a full pardon. It was like he commuted his sentence, I guess, right? Yeah, they're not like, again, obviously what people don't know. So the sitting president, which a lot of people don't, I don't know if y'all don't know or y'all just are ignorant of, or you just act like you don't know. They could only pardon federal crimes, not state crimes. Now, obviously, they could have a whole lot of influence if they wanted someone who was charged on a state crime to be pardoned. And I'm not actually sure if the case would need to be completed, or, like it could be a formality where you just take a plea just to get pardoned if it needs to be completed. But, the president of the United States deals with federal crimes, right? Your state governor could pardon state crimes. And again, most cases are state crimes. So, like, I keep telling y'all, we care so much about the president of the United States. Like, if you clapped a nigga in North Dakota, or not clap, because they're not going to pardon a murderer, bro, but like, let's say it was some crime. You want the governor of that state. Like, for example, even like Meek Mill and like all this shit with like Philly, like Meek is no longer a felon. But that's primarily because of not only the work the reform group did, but also the governor. The governor was rocking with them, and the governor appreciates how much Meek has done with the reform stuff, and they have made it that Meek is not a felon anymore. Meek could own a gun. You know what I mean? So again, state charges, governor. Federal charges, president. Okay? However, president could affect the state state charges just based on, because he just has so much power, and the state relies on the feds, as opposed to the feds relying on the state. Could a governor influence the president? I would probably think not, unless it's like a Texas, that those states, like, especially for Republicans, they need, or maybe California for like liberal or Democratic president, right? But not gonna happen anyway.
They'll have a couple days to prepare. The government will have a couple days to prepare. And now, because it'll take a week to get there, they'll have even more time to prepare. That's why I like to do them quick. I like to do bond hearings quick, because it doesn't give them that much time to prepare. And especially when you're in a different jurisdiction, the agent usually has to fly here, prep the U.S. attorney that's here. All those things come into strategy play. My guess is, on this type of case, the judge is probably not going to give him a bond. That's my guess. I kind of know the facts. I know the attorneys that are involved. I don't see where the judge will be, especially the Florida judge, would be like, yeah, this sounds like a case, I'm going to give him bond and send him to California. If anything, he's got a better shot in California of getting a bond than Florida.
Now, okay, bet. That's pretty much it. Now, what happened afterwards is that we're having some people speak up on Durk's behalf. Number one, his son came out this morning and spoke. His son's name is Zayden Banks. And his son said, I want to take a moment to stand up for my dad, Durk Banks. He's always dedicated his life to uplifting others and giving back to our community through his nonprofit organization. By the way, I could see the baby mama just typing this out saying, God damn it. Why did y'all about to force us to get a job? Like, what the hell? Give us Durk back. Anyway, even though this is bigger than that, it's family, right? Zayden Banks, I don't know if he's this young. He looks pretty young right here. He looks less than 10. How old is Durk's kids? How old is Lil Durk's kid? Lil Durk children. Let's see. Willow is 5. How old's Zayden? I gotta figure out Zayden. Here we go. How old are they? Angelo is 10 as of 2022. We have Bella. We have Zayden. Zayden is the 3rd. He was born a few months after. Wait. How old is he? So, yeah, she was born in 2013. If Zayden was born a couple months afterwards, 2013 to now is 11. By the way, Angelo, who was born in 2018, he's 2008. Sorry. So he was born in 2008. I think this is the first kid with a white girl. Remember that white girl that everybody used to be Durk first baby moms? You know, Durk was trying to be an attempted milkman out in the streets. You feel me? He was with her. This was Durk's first love, man. Durk ain't give a fuck what y'all niggas think, man. Fuck y'all niggas, man. Fuck y'all niggas. You know what I'm saying? Voice of the streets was the voice of the pogs. You know what I mean? Voice of the, you know what I mean? Voice of the, you know what I mean? Exactly. I think their child name is, okay. Yeah, Nicole Covone. Is that her name? Oh, yeah, Nikki. Yeah, this is her right here. I think Durk started, spreading some bread around to her. Oh, damn, this kid grown as fuck. Wait, is this his daughter too? No. Okay. Damn. Durk's son. Yo, shout to her as a mom. Look like she got her kids looking, Yeah. Got Durk's son looking like, in football and everything. Okay. Okay, I don't know if this is his daughter. Is this his daughter? I don't know if this is his daughter. Damn, her kids. Yeah, this kid look a little bit like Durk. A little bit like Durk. You can see in the eyes. The eyes went. Is that his daughter, though? No. Let me see. Her second child. Does he have a daughter? Yes, he has 3 daughters. Her second child. His second child would. Okay. So this is his daughter. All right, bet. But she was born in 2013. Oh, okay. 2013. So she's 11. So yeah. So these are both Durk's kids. I know Durk had 2 kids with her. I thought Durk had 1. Right? Oh, fire. Okay. And she only got 2? Oh, salute to her. This is why you see. Listen, fuck appearance and fuck whatever else. This is a good woman. She only got 2 kids by the same man. She ain't running around here getting pregnant like a fucking chicken or a hen or a fucking motherfucking dog that's unspaded. Yo, she got 2 kids by Durk. Durk taking care of them. I know it. She probably has some guy in her life because he's not with her. But she don't need to have kids because these days women go from guy to guy and give every guy a kid. Because what happens is when a man gets with you and you got a kid, a man wants to almost like plant his seed. Like, all right, well, if I fuck with you like this and you had a kid by him, you gotta have a kid by me. So these chicks happen to have like 8 baby daddies, right? Like multiple baby daddies. She knows, yo, you good. Durk gave you 2 kids, you straight. Let me see. All right, it's a little thirst trap. Okay, Shardy. Okay. Lost a little weight. She probably got a little trainer. Know what I mean? I don't know if she hit the BBL table. Let me see if I can find her. She posts a lot of, hey, this is a good mom. She not out here seeking dick. She's out here posting her kids. Anytime you see a chick posting too much thirst trap, let me tell you this. The biggest whores are the women with kids that post them in bikinis, damn near naked all the time, and you never see their kids. They're still trying to say, come fuck me. Here's the booty, come fuck. The women who are posting their kids, right? Or family things, basically, they're content. They're not trying to be the whores no more. Trust, I promise you, man. Because I'll be looking at certain chicks on the gram, I'm like, damn, this bitch bad as a motherfucker. You start looking through like some highlights or some old stories, or you look at her tags. Who the fuck is this little kid right here? That's her kid she's trying to hide because she's trying to go get a new nigga to be a stepdaddy. You know why? She had a kid with a bum. So now she's like, all right, I got to get back on the track. You know what to get back on the track is? Let me poke this booty out. Let me get the titties poke back up. Let me suck in the waist. And that's what they do. But anytime a sign of a good woman is them posting their kid, honestly, truthfully. Look, she posted more of her kid than her. We don't even know how she look like. Look, she posts one picture. Yeah, this is a good mom. Trust me. Fuck all this shit. She a good mom. I guarantee she a good mom. I promise you. Durk probably sending enough bread, making sure everything's good. She ain't gonna be online stressing. She moved out the hood. She here to have a good time with her kids, having fun. She probably got like 1-2 girlfriends, and you know what I mean? Whatever she do, she keep it off of there. She have a little ass pick. It's all good. But she not trying to go get no rapper. Trust me, put it like this. You know I'm gonna give her credit even with this pitch. I'm gonna tell you why. When a rapper nuts in one of these chicks, because a woman never dates down, they date up. She automatically says, well, if Durk want me, gonna want me. Well, if Durk want me, I could get this nigga. Well, if this athlete go holler at me. None of them ever say, no, I'm chilling. You get what I'm saying? They start whoring themselves out even more. You get what I'm saying? Trying to get like the next hot guy. You get what I'm saying? That's just usually what it is. So anyway, even though she posts this, you know, it's a woman being a woman. It's all good. I think she's a good mom. I could tell she's a good mom. Kids look wild. They look properly mannered. I don't see them throwing up gang signs. I'm looking at nice pictures from Christmas. Look at her captions. Very graceful. My best friends. I like this. Look, you know what I mean? Get you know, mommy's princess. Like, this is good. This is good. Like, these kids, you know, as much as y'all was trying to clown on her parents, I was too, I ain't gonna lie. She's probably a great mother, and that's good. Look, these kids look really manicured, nice, taken care of. They don't look like Boosie's kid, or Boosie and T.I. kid who acting like, nah, I'm from the trenches, though. Like, they don't look like that. They look like they're enjoying suburban lifestyle. My dad is a millionaire. He takes good care of us. We don't need to act. Yeah, we're taking pictures with the mascot. We're not born in a gated community and trying to get out the gated community. This is good, okay? Bet. Okay, how did we even get there? Okay, all right, cool. So this is Zayden. So Zayden was born. It was born when the daughter was born, which is 2013. So Zayden's like 11. 2013, like 11, right? So Zayden got a good vocabulary because Zayden wrote this up on Instagram. I want to take a moment to stand up for my dad. Sounds like you probably go to the best schools, right? Durk Banks. He's always dedicated his life to uplifting the community and giving back to others, or giving back to our community. Oh no, uplifting others and giving back to our community through his nonprofit organization, Neighborhood Heroes. Beyond that, he's a great father who has always supported and loved our family unconditionally. Right now, he's facing challenges, but I want to affirm that he has. Yo, chat, some of y'all niggas are stupid as shit. Because if this 11-year-old know how to type like this, what the fuck are you doing? Okay. Beyond that, he's a great father who has always supported and loved our family unconditionally. Right now, he's facing challenges, but I want to affirm that he has not been convicted of any charges and remains innocent until proven otherwise. During this difficult time, I ask for you to support him and all the good he continues to do. I would also like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the mayor for standing with my dad. His speech was well said and truly reflects the community support to those who strive to make a positive impact. Thank you, everybody. This comes from Zayden Banks. That was good. Let's figure out who's his mama, because his mama typed this bitch up. We know that's a fact. Of the mothers unknown? Perfect. She's a good mom, too. Durk might have picked some good women. Chat, you know you're picking good women when they're not clout chasing, they're not trying to be in front of the camera, and they're just living through their child. You got a child with a millionaire. He's going to take care of all the kids. You don't need to be over here trying to be on Impact on BET or trying to be on Zeus. Good. We don't know the child's mom. She's probably a great mom. Okay? Anytime you see the child's mom trying to clout chase, whore. Okay, so this is a good child. Good child. All right, salute to you, Zayden, and salute to your mama. I like this. No? Dad been taking care of him good. Got two watches on the wrist. You know what I mean? He ain't throwing up one of these. He's just doing this. Okay, it's like Power Rangers. All right, cool. We got you, bro. I like that. Speak up for your dad. I respect it. I respect this. Okay. Now, I didn't get to play what the mayor had said. Did I get to play it? No, I get to play the mayor. Let me play the mayor chat. Y'all didn't hear the mayor? This is what the mayor said.
Mayor, I'm just going back to the whole Lil Durk thing. Obviously, you have engaged with him. We've seen pictures of you standing with him. First of all, can we just get your reaction to the news of this famous hometown person who has an organization that's doing good things with kids being arrested in connection with this, and have a follow-up?
Yeah, well, look, I don't know all the circumstances and details around, these accusations. What I do know, though, is that Lil Durk's mission to build financial literacy for children across the city and making other critical investments for the children of this city, where his heart, has been. And I mean, there's no secret to the trauma that he grew up in.
There you go.
And how he has worked to turn that trauma into opportunities for other people.
You were given, about a month after taking office, a $150,000 campaign donation from him. Do you feel like you should donate that to charity or do something with that money? Is it tainted?
Well, I mean, look, I don't operate in feelings. I operate in truth and justice.
And facts. Go ahead.
I don't know all the circumstances around these accusations, but again, what I do know for sure is that, here's another example of a young black man who grew up in severe trauma that led to life choices that he has been very open and vocal about healing from those choices. It's why he's been committed.
Almost healed. Remember, he ain't say fully healed. He said almost. Remember that, chat? He ain't say fully healed. He said almost. You feel what I'm saying?
To finding his righteous path, seeking out, truth and justice through his faith, while also investing in behavior and mental health support for individuals. Look, what
will you do with the money?
Well, as I said, right now we have allegations, right, that he has not been tried. And look, I understand the question. I don't want you to think I don't understand the question. I'm just saying, you're asking me a question about someone who has worked to transform his life, who has admitted that he is on a journey to transformation and has not been charged with anything. Has not been convicted of anything. And so if you're asking me if I should make a judgment on a black man before a full trial has actually come to fruition, I hope you do understand why it is not my position.
And you have some reservation. Keep going, brother.
To determine the outcome of someone's life, especially in a system that, quite frankly, has not been overly.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Craig. We have one more off-topic question. And
Nah, shout to this brother. Nah, shout to this brother. I ain't gonna lie. Held it down. This is why, hey, I gave you 100. I know like Durk's team, who may not be locked up, is looking like, nigga, we sent you 150,000 for you to get in this position. Let's see if you're gonna kick our back in. Let's see if you're gonna backdoor us, nigga. Kept it 100, kept it solid. Hey, these allegations that might be wild, but we do have to understand that under the American justice system, that someone's presumed innocent until proven guilty. And what I do know about this individual, from my own personal experience, is that I watched him come from a place filled with trauma, and he's been working on himself and also working to help the community by developing after school programs, by also investing in therapy and also going to therapy himself. He's also became a devout Muslim. And, until then, I just don't think it's really in my wheelhouse, or nor is it in anyone's, judging facilities to really make that predetermination about these charges about that young man. Again, as far as the money that was given to us, we appreciate his donation, but we don't know the outcome of this. I hope these things are not true, but we do understand the seriousness of these charges. My nigga, I like that. Come on, bruh. Now, truthfully here, and I don't want to think that like this is a place where people are just like underscoring and understanding and just like shoving along violence like it's okay. That's not okay. But look how even the YSL case has turned out. And even whether you think based on what we've seen narrative has been, like the narrative is that, Young Thug was getting niggas killed, right? That's the narrative, right? None of this stuff is kind of being bore out and proven really in court. That case is in shambles. So for everybody who's spoken out against Young Thug, it doesn't seem like he's going to accept or maybe plea to, or maybe even not even plea at all. Maybe he goes to trial and just beats everything. Should we not give people the benefit of the doubt? Right? And again, it's one of those things where I could understand if Durk, for example, the other mayor, there's another mayor, right? There's another mayor. Mayor of Chicago. No. There's another mayor. Rescinds keys. Key to city. Durk. The other mayor took the key back, right? It was another Chicago suburb. And their mayor said this, okay? It says, while the American justice system grants everyone the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in a court of law, the village of Broadview, the court of a public opinion of our residents, has even a higher moral and ethical standard of behavior, and that's why they have taken back the key. Okay, here it is. This is Mayor Katrina Thompson. Now, let me see if I can find her. I want to find her campaign donation list. The Durk. By the way, you're not getting the key to the city unless you donate. Like, they're not like, oh, you're a good guy. Like, it doesn't work like that. This is all a political game. It's like handshakes. Let me tell you this. Once you start getting into politics, this is nothing about like your morality. This is all about, listen, could you help me get elected? Could you help me get in this position? It becomes one hand washes the other. So it's so interesting when people start putting morals in this. Your goddamn election, the people, like, y'all just looked at it today. The people, the highest donors of Kamala or Donald Trump are people that have severe interest in their own business interests. They don't give a fuck about good or bad. Is he racist or is he not? They don't give a fuck. They only care about, if I get you in power, you gonna hold me down for what I need. And when you think about politics as that, especially when, these campaigns need to be fun, it's a handshake. You stop to think like, oh no, like, oh, Durk. No, Durk, I thought that's a smart move if you ask me by Durk. Start playing politics. By the way, to all y'all rappers who be claiming you terrorize your city, when you start making $100 million, start helping the next mayor get elected. Because, by the way, put it like this. If there was, at least this mayor's trying to keep it chill. If that mayor was still in there, I forgot her name. It's not Lori Lightfoot. Who was the other mayor? No, Rahm Emanuel. If Rahm Emanuel was in power, treating Chicago and how he viewed drill music, like how he did back in like 2013 or whatever, Durk would have been in jail 10 years ago, if you get what I'm saying. You know why? Because he was one of the main factors that drove, or maybe not drove Keith out of Chicago, but kept him there, right? They made it very clear that the Chicago Police Department and also government was not welcoming of Keith. If they did the same to Durk, he'd be out of here. They'd be like, all right, go investigate him. Now, this mayor, I'm pretty sure based on, Durk working with them, this and third, when the police commissioner comes back and says, hey, listen, we could, like based on our reports, we could tie this to this, but we're going to need y'all back in to get the DA to rock off with this. And we could probably get a murder for hire charge on Durk. I'm pretty sure the mayor says, wait, hold on now. Hold on. Charge the niggas who did the killing. But before y'all say a guy like Durk did a murder for hire, relax. He's been a very positive source, a voice for the community, which I'm the mayor of. He's been given money. Hold on now. That's how politics work, right? Ain't no good and bad. Ain't no good and bad. So I'm pretty sure that was a very strategic move. And I'm actually surprised more people don't do that. Like, I think without this political move, Durk would have been arrested 2 years ago. Gotta learn how to play politics. Jeff Bezos played politics. One of the two biggest donors for Kamala, Microsoft, Google. What do you think? They just like, oh no, we think you're the best? No. Yo, let's see how your policies could benefit our company. All right, bet. Yo, here's $2 million. Hold that. Is what it is. All right, let's look at her. Donations. We gotta look at donations from her. We probably gotta. I'm pretty sure he donated to her. How much did he donate to her? Let's look. So it was two of them. Obviously, this guy right here, he's standing by Durk. The other one withdrew. Doesn't say how much. I'm pretty sure there was some influence there. Anyway. Oh, good. She said, while the American system of justice grants everyone the presumption of innocence until proven guilty within a court of law, the village of Broadview, where the fuck is that? In the court of public opinion of the residents, we have a higher moral and ethics standards of behavior, and our partners must reflect the same and uncompromising standards that are demanded by our residents. Given the news that Lil Durk, aka Lil Durk Banks, have been arrested in Florida and charged with murder for hire, the village of Broadview is withdrawing our honorary key to the village granted to Durk and is terminating our partnership's agreement with his youth organization's Neighborhood Heroes Foundation. As mayor, protecting our interests and upholding values is our number one job. This is why I say this to be bullshit, chat. Durk came on the scene nationally like 2012, but been rapping really since like 2010. And he was saying, I'm terrorizing the city. Yo, niggas is getting clapped, 500 homicides, there's finna be more. And they still gave him the key, but now they're like, oh shit, no. Whatever. Anyway. Okay, good. Let me let homie rock. Oh, we already played this, right?
I mean, look, I don't, quite frankly, has not been overly.
Thank you, Craig.
Okay, cool. So we get that. Now, let me, is this the last part of my Durk? Because I think we have been going on with Durk for the last, we did about 2 hours on it already. Cool. Well, let me show this part. So,
popular rapper Lil Durk appeared in federal court in Miami today, accused of a murder.
This was his first appearance, which, by the way, CBS Miami, y'all need to fire somebody on your editing team, okay? First and foremost, you're going to see they have the whole story wrong. They said that Durk slid for the death of somebody named Big Von instead of King Von. Watch this, though. And we're going to see at the end Durk's father, who did show up to court, and I do have a picture of India, who showed up to court as well.
For hire plot.
CBS News Miami's Peter Dench joins us from outside the federal courthouse in downtown Miami, where Lil Durk appeared today. Peter?
Well, Lauren and Elliot, we can...
Yo, is that a rooster? Hey, there's roosters in Chicago?
Lil Durk appeared today. Peter?
Well,
there is a rooster. Look right here.
Lauren and Elliot, we can tell you that federal authorities say the rapper offered a bounty to kill...
What the fuck? There's a rooster in Chicago? Yo, chat, what the hell? Oh, no, this is Miami. Oh, my bad. This is Miami. I'm sorry. This is not Chicago. It's Miami. Why the hell's a rooster just chilling there? This reminds me like some Jamaica shit. Yo, chat, we had like 300 roosters at my crib in Jamaica. What the fuck? In Miami, a rooster just chilling? How'd that work? No, this is not Chicago. This is Miami. This is Miami Federal Court. What the hell?
Lil Durk appeared today. Peter?
Well, Lauren and Elliot, we can tell you that federal authorities say the rapper offered a bounty to kill a rival rapper in Los Angeles. Now he's facing charges including murder for hire resulting in a death. Many know rapper Lil Durk for this song. He won a Grammy this year for All My Life. Now that life is darker. The 32-year-old singer, whose real name is Durk Devontae Banks, is facing federal charges including murder for hire, resulting in a death. According to these federal indictments, 5 of his associates, known as OTF or Only the Family Members, took part in the plot. As depicted in these photos from their indictments, authorities say they tried to kill rival rapper Quando Rondo in August of 2022 at a Los Angeles gas station. It resulted in the death of Quando Rondo's 24-year-old cousin after 18 shots were fired. Authorities say it was in retaliation for the murder of Chicago rapper Big Von. They say
What? The chat, who is this? What are they talking about? Chat, what are they talking about right now? Retaliation for who?
fired. Authorities say it was in retaliation for the murder of Chicago rapper Big Von.
Wait, what?
Authorities say it was in retaliation for the murder of Chicago rapper Big Von.
No way.
It resulted in the death of Quando Rondo's 24-year-old cousin after 18 shots were fired. Authorities say it was in retaliation for the murder of Chicago rapper Big Von.
Okay.
They say Banks made it known that he would pay a bounty to anyone who killed Rondo, whose real name is Taekwon Bowman. The criminal complaint against Durk Banks says evidence shows that Banks ordered TB's murder and that the hitman used Banks and
Big Von.
OTF-related finances to carry out the murder. Authorities say Banks was arrested Thursday night in Miami Springs as he attempted to flee the United States. In court, a federal prosecutor asked that he be held without bond because he is a flight risk. He will now face another hearing. Outside court, we tried to speak with Banks' attorney and his father.
So that's his pops right there. I'm not too sure. I guess this is his attorney, this white lady here. We're going to have to figure it out. I'm pretty sure he's going to have to get the best of the best. Don't know if she is and don't want to say she's not, but we're going to see the high power. This is where, let me tell you, all the millions don't mean nothing if you ain't getting the right person, right? But this is his father. If you don't know, there's a whole story about, his father was in jail for the majority of his life. And his father actually just came home recently.
They declined to say anything about the charges against Banks or the upcoming hearing. Now, Banks' next hearing will be about his pretrial detention and will be held in the Central District of California since the crime originally happened in Los Angeles. At this point, no date has been set for that hearing.
Okay, so we kind of get that. There is a picture of India appearing as well in court, which means, baby mama and wifey, and actually she's his fiance. She was definitely, there in tow to make sure she's supporting her man. Let me see if I can get that picture. India court. I'm scrolling. Right here. Here she is. India Royale seen leaving Durk's court hearing in Miami. Okay. Guess this is security right next to her, but, all right. Okay. Now, so here we are, and now we're at the point of, I personally believe that Durk was aware of.
Sad to say, Lil Durk has been booked, man. It's gonna be a lot of videos coming out about Lil Durk, man. This is honestly sad, bro. I'm gonna keep it a being. Like, this is actually sad, like genuinely sad. Lil Durk literally had such a, I don't want to say such a promising career because he still has his career right now. He has his album coming out in a month. Like Lil Durk has so much positive going for him. Like, this case for him is how I see if King Von was still alive for the FBG Duck case, like he would have got booked the same way. And they're gonna pin everything on Durk. There's already snitches, like what Rex said. There's a murder involved, murder for hire. They're probably gonna come with a RICO case after. This is not state charges. This is federal charges too. So it's very, very, very much different. Man, I seen a. I can't really say what I want to say because YouTube is very weird. But seeing Dirk change his religion recently, they said it's good to be that specific religion while in jail, which I agree. You see a lot of, you feel me, people that religion. You feel me? It's like they're like a group in jail and they stay together, which is good. But man, going from being a 8, probably 9-figure man, private jets, mansions, to a cell, man, that must do something to you mentally that you can't even fathom, bro. And Lil Durk, honestly, he's like, rap wise, he's like up there. Like, he's the 21 Savages, whichever tier is the Lil Babies, 21 Savage. You put Lil Durk right in that tier, like the tier right under the Kendricks, J. Cole's, Drake's, them. He's literally the tier right below them. And it's sad. Lil Durk's been in the game for so long, man. He told him about Slide for Von. He allegedly really did slide for Von. Now he's in this situation. All we could do is pray and hope for the best. You know, I'm consider myself a realist, and I looking at the situation. There's snitches, like all the evidence, like OTF cards for everything, and bro, like Lil Durk is ahead of all of this. Like, I really just hope he doesn't. If Lil Durk gets life in prison, I know his heart's gonna drop. And how Lil Durk says that he hates snitches, how much he prides himself on hating snitches. Like, I always wonder to myself, if it's someone in Lil Durk's position, if it's either life in prison or you snitch and you get 5 to 10 years, are you snitching? Would you throw your whole life away? You're not going to get to see any of your kids physically grow up anymore. All your money, you have all this money right now, but that money's not, you're the breadwinner, bro. Like, 5 to 10 years, 20 years, who knows? The family's connected to you might be broke. Like, you're the breadwinner, bro. Like, it's a crazy world we live in, bro. I genuinely feel bad for Dirk, but man, it's hard to even feel bad for Dirk because then you'd have to feel bad for Quando, and it's the whole situation is just sad because it's all this literally started from King Von and Jania, bro. King Von, Asian Doll, Jania, like, it's just woman, bro. Woman caused this whole thing to happen. It was a chain reaction, and now we're here. But it's your boy Big X News. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and please, 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 please don't, like, woman holds so much power, bro. Like, it's so crazy. And I'm out.